I'm not sure if this recording is gonna be very good, but the other day I was thinking or pondering, and it doesn't the other day I was thinking about God's timing, and people use that. Oh, and in God's timing this will happen. Why don't you get this done? Oh, in God's timing. And it's sort of like a scapegoat of responsibility. It's sort of like, well, it's not up to me when it gets done. It's gonna happen in God's timing. And I was thinking about that. And short answer, they're right, yeah. Everything happens in God's timing. He owns time. He's outside of time. And so anything that happens in time, he has full authority over, power, influence, and ownership. And the conclusion that I've come to, it doesn't take away from God's greatness or grandeur or wonder, you know. If anything, it makes you even marvel at God's power and authority. Like, yeah. So I was thinking about God's timing. And people using it as a scapegoat. But everything we do in life has a reaction. In reality, 1 + 1 = 2. That's the laws of reality, and thank goodness that is so, that it's not magical that 1 add 1 = 5, because if the world was like that, you wouldn't know what truth was. The thing about truth is that it's rational. It's not magical thinking. It's not over mysterious and doesn't make sense. No, the nature of truth. You can't have this is like ingrained in truth. It is how it is created. I suppose. Yes, the nature of truth. You can't have truth without having rationality and sort of, what's the word? I used it earlier, I can't remember. Anyway, everything has a cause and effect. You do. Everything you do has a cause and effect. I was told a story once by my sister, and I think it was by my sister. I can't remember, but I think it was her. Sorry, I've got a cold, and I'm currently driving somewhere. The story is this woman who feels led in the spirit to Russia, where she's told that she would set up an orphanage. She feels like that's what she's being told to do in the spirit. So she does that. But she goes there with no money, with no resources to build an orphanage, and she just believes, which is the right thing to do, to believe that God will provide the funds for her to go and do the work that she's being told to do in Russia. Anyway, so she gets to Russia, and I think it's like the first evening of her in the village that she feels like she's meant to be in, somewhere in Russia. She's walking down the street in the evening, was some interaction. I don't remember the details, but it's not very important. But she interacts with this older fellow, and the older fellow clicks, and he says, "Oh, you're here for the children. You're here to look after the children, set up an orphanage. Oh, well, I can help you with that. I can fund your endeavours," which he does. He ends up funding the construction and the stocking, as in like food, resources, all that jazz, of the orphanage for this woman. And it's amazing. It's sort of like, wow, God provided. And the woman asked this older man, "Oh, why are you doing this? How did you know that I was needing money to build an orphanage?" And he said, many years ago, I think it was like 38 years prior or something, something like that, he was told in the spirit that he would need to start putting money aside from his work, because he was a fisherman or something, and just store up his money to one side, because one day a woman from a foreign land would come to his area and will look after the children. And so he, for the next 38 or whatever years, he put money aside, saved his money, and that money, that value that he was storing, was the result of his hard labor, day in and day out. It took his time, his effort, his willpower, and vision. Important, very important. Vision or wisdom. And so for this woman who sort of, God just sort of rocked up and provided for her when she needed it, from that point of view, it is so easy. It's so easy to see God's provision as magical thinking, as, oh, God will just make it appear out of nowhere. And it's easy to see that when something does come up, that it has appeared out of nowhere. But that's not the case. Not the majority of the time. Well, I'll take a step back, and I'll in the Old Testament, when Elijah is running away from Jezebel's men, sort of sent out to kill him, he sort of flees off into the wilderness, and there he stays for, I'm not sure how many days. Is it 80 or was it 40? Can't remember. But he is provided for by God, who sends these crows down with bits of bread, which Elijah eats, and it sustains him. And I've always wondered, well, do they come from heaven? That doesn't really make sense. I mean, we're told that manna in the wilderness comes from heaven. That doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. God doesn't have a need. There's no need for him to do that, to have things come straight from heaven. There's really no need for him to do that. And when from a point of view, for example, well, I'll finish the example. You'll probably be going, well, what about Elijah and what do you call it? The mother, the widow. I mean, what about her oil pot and her flower pot that seems to never run out? That's an exception. And there will be an explanation in reality, be it quantum mechanics, doesn't really matter. Everything has an explanation. There's always a cause and an effect, cause and effect in reality. And now, where was I going? Manna in heaven. Manna from heaven. I mean, we have no way of knowing what manna was unless we find the Ark of the Covenant. There's supposedly manna stored as a historical remembrance of the manna. And perhaps I'm wrong, perhaps I'm crossing my wires there. But it could have quite easily been a fungus, a type of fungus, a mushroom. If it spoiled quite quickly, and if it appeared in the mornings, and it only spoiled if you kept it overnight, not during the Sabbath. I don't know. I mean, like, you had clouds of quail, so they had meat, and they had bread, manna from heaven. But the quail, how often did that happen? Really often. Yeah, but what, didn't it not happen like once a week or something? Or I don't know how often. I don't think it we're told. But they had meat. And another thing, it's funny, that's where I was headed. Yeah, God's timing, but here's a interesting, fun little quirky thing, I don't know, is that when the Israelites left Egypt, they had to go, they left Egypt, they entered Egypt as a family, but they left Egypt as a nation. And in the wilderness, there are 40 years of wandering around in the wilderness. Those 40 years crafted them. They took on their identity. They were given the laws. They were given rules and regulations on how to live. They were tested. They were shown that if they strayed from the commands that they were given, that it wasn't going to be pretty. It was childbirth to the extreme. Israel was born during that wilderness, time in the wilderness. And everything was provided for them. They had food, they had water, and their sandals never wore out. So really, to a certain extent, they were on welfare. They were on welfare, government welfare. Everything was provided. And I'm sure some of you might be acquainted with the study that was done on rats. And when everything's provided for them, they have social breakdown in their little ratty society. And we saw that happening. It's the human condition. It's the broken condition. You're going to go, well, what about the rats? They're not human. No. But we are the stewards. And so everything that is under us, that is steward by us, it reflects our nature. And that's just the laws of reality when you have something like that. Their actions are reflected in what's going on. And so we broke the world. Why am I thinking about the world? Israel struggled. It was the manifestation of human condition. And they struggled. They sort of fell away multiple times. I find that this is a reflection of the hero's journey.
is of course sort of expected, because the 40 years of Israel was the collective mind of a group of people, and so of course they're gonna build a picture of the human struggle and how they worked as a nation. Thankfully, there's a happy ending to all of this, and so in God's timing, it's cause an effect. So when you say, in God's timing, that's going to take effort. That's going to take you to go, effort to actually go and do something and achieve that and succeed there. So everything that happens in life, all those puzzle pieces that fall in place or need to fall in place, they happen. They get fulfilled because many people are carrying that out, like being prompted by the Spirit, doing the little things in life that build the picture, Grace. It's funny. Grace. I've been thinking about grace, and I've been thinking about the future of autonomous systems. Totally going wrong. Exactly. Autonomous systems, but if we had a system that was fully efficient, there is no room for grace. You can't calculate and simulate grace, because it is unpredictable. When grace is needed, what you're going to do with grace. Because when you give grace, the person receiving grace, the only way for them not to abuse that grace given is that they have a revelation. And revelations are not from the flesh. And so you can't force someone to have a revelation. You can't try and impart a revelation on someone. It has to happen. Has to happen in God's time. But that's not your. I had a revelation a couple of years ago, and I can't really explain it because it transcends the heart and flesh, mind. But I tried to explain it. Tried to explain it to my sister, and it didn't go so well. It only caused a rage to come to terms, because she was in the same boat as I was before I had the revelation. So I tried to give her the revelation. She wanted the revelation. But it meant nothing. So coming back to autonomous systems of grace, if we had a fully autonomous system, there would be no room for grace. The flesh can't calculate grace. It's not natural. It doesn't make sense. If the police force, if the law society endorsed the idea of grace in its systems, people would naturally abuse it. Let's say I'm pulled over by a police car and I'm going 120 in a 100-kilometer speed zone, going 20 over the speed limit. And police officer says, hey, you're speeding 20 over the speed limit. And I say, oh, yeah, my grandma's dying. I'm just really trying to get to her deathbed, Let's pretend that's a true story. And I go, please, and I can't afford a ticket, please show me some grace. And for some reason, the police officer, maybe he's feeling good that day, he's like, yeah, okay, I'll show you some grace. I can see that the predicament you're in, it doesn't warrant, it still isn't right, but you've been given a warning, don't do it again.
That's grace. Because with where the law stands, I, who broke the law, has every legal reason to be punished. I broke the law, so of course punishment is due. And for the police officer, he has every right to persecute me because I broke the law. But grace, people might go, but that's dishonest. By the police officer, no. No, the police officer has full authority and power to enforce the law, or not to enforce the law, depending on circumstances. I mean, especially where I am. The police, supposedly policed by consent. So I disagree with that. That is a play on words. Even though they claim otherwise. Doesn't really matter. So if we tried to enforce grace into our laws and societies, people would just naturally abuse it and take advantage. After I leave, I was like, and I'll start speeding again. Yeah, I'll be racing off to my grandmother's funeral, but, it's like, I haven't learned my lesson. And so when humans show grace, that's a beautiful and rare thing, because it is so easy to take advantage of, and we just don't have the patience. We don't have the patience when someone takes advantage of our generosity in the form of grace. We just don't have the patience. The flesh is weak. The spirit is willing. The heart is willing, but the flesh is weak. Overtake these trappies. And however, God shows us that grace. Oh, nice truck of potatoes. Or are they onions? Oh no, onions, nice. God shows us grace every day in, day out. He shows us grace day in and day out until the day we die. Isn't that amazing? We take advantage of God's grace every day. We sin every day. We can't help it. We can't help it. It's so hard. We can't help it. And so I was thinking, about autonomous systems and grace. We're moving into a time where you're not gonna have, there's no mercy. That's what I'm saying. And that might sound really depressing and terrible. And it is. Don't get me wrong. Oh, it is very hard. What a hard revelation that we need to come to, really, of the future state of reality. It's not going to be a long one. Don't worry. It's not going to be a long season. It's going to be quite short. But the time that happens in, it's going to be very hard. And many people are going to be persecuted and put to death and beaten and abused when we're all broken, we're all falling short of God's glory. And that's so tragic, because we've got humans who think, we can fix this. We'll produce autonomous systems where evil cannot be done because it won't leak through the gaps, and etc., etc. But because it's been built on human ideas and theories and sort of, just the human view, it's gonna, of course, reflect how we humans work. And how we work is we're selfish, we're short-sighted, we're stubborn, unwise, foolish, nasty, mean. I mean, mean and nasty falls into the bracket of being short-sighted. I mean, those things, being mean, nasty, short-tempered, sort of all the opposites of the fruit of the Spirit, it is the result. It is the result of the human condition. We're all struggling, day in and day out. And I'm not talking, you could be financially set straight. You could be making your way of living very autonomously, very passively, but you're still struggling. You're still feeling unfulfilled. You know that one day you're gonna die. and you're going to grow old. And then you're going to die. Or you might just die before you grow old. But your body is withering. And there's a hole in your chest because emotionally, you're not happy. Relationshiply, you might not be happy. You might, who knows, you might even have all those things. And yet, you're not satisfied. You might want the latest car, or the latest tech, or you've heard it all. All of this, what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that it's a group thing. It's funny. People laud AI. They're like, yeah, AI is going to be great. It's going to be just. We can build a system that's going to be rational. But I don't think you understand what AI is. And most people don't understand what AI is. AI is thousands of human minds. The result, the data, the output, all the data that we've trained AI on is human output. And so all it's going to do is produce this mega-human. Mega-human where there won't be any room for God. It is literally 100% human. And people are like, nah, AI is not human, it's going to be great. No, the tragic thing is that AI is 100% human. And there is no room for God in that model, in AI, because it is trained off of pure human output. Even if, let's say we've got, let's train it on good deeds. Yeah, but it's still removed from God. It's good deeds a result of the flesh, not of God. There's a barrier. The good deeds out of the flesh was the result of God. But then if you're training the model on us doing good deeds, then that model is trained on the flesh. I don't know if I'm getting the picture across, because it's really simple, but it's complicatedly simple, if you know what I mean. Okay, that's oxymoron. No, I don't think so. From a wordplay point of view, yes it is. It is an oxymoron. But from an intellectual point of view, from a point of view of wisdom and understanding, we humans are so simple. We're simple creatures. We have simple needs. But we overcomplicate everything trying to fulfill those simple needs. God's timing? Yes, everything's God. Yeah, everything's God's timing. But if you want to go and achieve, you need to go and, do the hard yard. Someone does the hard yard. There's no such thing as a free lunch. No such thing. Oh, what about Elijah and the crows and the bread? Or the manna and the quails. Those quails had to grow. Those quails had to hatch from an egg, be fed by mother birds. They had to be looked after, they have to be raised. And you're like, well, God looks after the birds. They feed them. They don't need to toil. The lilies don't need to be worried about how they're dressed or whatever. I'm crossing my wires. I'm misquoting, and you probably know that. It's like, what was that? The lilies don't... Lilies of the field don't... I'm not going to even attempt it. But you know what part of the New Testament I'm quoting from. But no, time passed and energy was spent on those quails. Life's not easy. Nothing's easy. Anything that is worth having takes a struggle. And it's funny, you go, what about prayer and miracles? Do you know how hard it is to step up and pray for someone? It takes a lot of willpower to go to even have faith. Nothing is magical thinking. Nothing. And it is a delusion, and it's only a growing delusion because of robotics and automation. Most people, they go into a grocery store and they don't even have any understanding how the food's growing, how much energy and effort gets put into growing those vegetables or growing that steak. They just see it, they see the end result, and they go and buy it, and it's easy. They don't have any understanding. I've worked on a farm, like, to fatten a cow through winter, you need to feed silage, right? Or even make sure that it doesn't lose what it currently has in fat. You want to feed it out. But where does that feed come from? Like, making silage is not hard. I spent many hours, like, working through the night, working through the rain, wrapping and making silage. Hard work. And sometimes that work can be quite dangerous. And so we are removed from reality in this first world mindset, and especially with autonomous systems coming in, we're truly removed from reality. We just need to think, and the food will appear in front of us. That's where things are heading.